much for joining me today.
Oh, no problem. Glad to be here.
Good. So we've been hearing a little bit about agile. At least I've been hearing a little bit about it while I've been here. So how about you tell us a little bit about the development model at OpenSRS?
Tubanos has actually gone through a big migration in the last 2 years. We started out as a typical waterfall shop where we had business analysts and product owners writing very rigorous specs or trying to be rigorous specs, and they'd hand them off to architects and software developers and the QA people, and we would hopefully try to produce something after a very long process that met the customer needs. And what we found more often than not was that projects were very late, and when they actually hit the market, they didn't fit the need. Agile is an iterative process that tries to fix that type of problem. It's very lightweight in terms of documentation. It takes 2-week iterations of software development cycles where the developers commit to a set amount of functionality at the end of that development cycle that they can demo to either the product owners or a customer, and get feedback and do course corrections as they need to, and that cycle just keeps repeating and repeating as they move through more and more functionality. And at any given time they can say, you know what, this is good enough for a release, let's put it out and let customers really use it, rather than waiting 2 or 3 years for something that the customer can first look at and play with and say, no, that's not what we wanted at all.
Cool, and it's great for, I guess, productivity as well.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. It's very human nature on a long-term project for a developer to procrastinate.
We don't like to use that word around
sit on their thumbs for a while and start reporting more and more progress towards their goals. When in reality they aren't making any great progress. But it's very difficult to measure over a very large scale project how much work they've actually gotten done.
Walking around, I see groups of people just having quick little stand-up meetings. Is this related to the whole agile methodology?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Agile, the way we practice it, really depends on communication rather than documentation, right? So it's very lightweight in terms of specs and paper and weighty tomes of specifications, but it's really easy to communicate a concept with somebody, right? I want a user to be able to log into a web page. Conceptually, people get that, right? And the details can come out in conversations and be captured very quickly in a wiki page, where it's capturing agreed understanding rather than trying to specify in long form what that page should look like.
So what are some of the other best practices related to development or architecture?
In our email project, we started really looking at what Tubanos did from a completely greenfields perspective. So we took apart the development methodology and went from waterfall to agile, and we started looking at a lot of the places where, in the past we'd done maybe not the greatest choices. Simplification is one thing that we found is just amazing, right? A lot of times software developers, being very much in their heads, they want to make a very complex and robust system that does all kinds of things, it slices, it dices, but the reality is that that's not what the marketplace needs, and that's not what the customers want. And the more complex they make it when they're building it, the harder it is to maintain, the harder it is to make bug fixes and to find problems. So we've started really pushing on developers to find the simplest, most elegant solution rather than the most complex, meaty, feature-rich solution. And in that project, we also, we went to methodologies that allowed us to roll out software into production much sooner and much quicker. In the past, we had problems where whenever we did a software promotion, we couldn't guarantee that there wouldn't be problems just as a result of the promotion. And we started using virtualization technology with this email project so that we could basically take a virtualized image of software running in a dev environment, take it into QA, test it in QA, take it into a production test environment, test it there, and put it into production, all without changing anything.
So what are some of the benefits your resellers have seen since you've implemented these changes? The
systems are more stable. Because of the virtualization, we can scale them much more easily. We can just add new servers into the farm very quickly. We aren't experiencing the situations where we would upgrade something and it would break. We upgrade something and it's actually better now.
Okay.
But because of the agile process and we don't have this big weighty spec that we have to do, we can get customer requirements into the development funnel very, very quickly.
Right.
So if someone comes along and says, you know, if sales comes along and says, I've got three customers that really want this feature, and it's in your backlog, but it's near the bottom, can we bump it?
Yeah.
Right? The worst situation is we have to wait to the next sprint, which is 2 weeks, to start thinking about doing that. So it's a very quick way of getting new features and new functionality into the products as demanded by customers.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for your time. That was great.
That's great. Thank you.